He wants the handheld.
Good morning, everyone. Everybody's been observing all protocols and talking about the chairman. So you'll forgive me for ignoring the chairman and starting with my very good friend, TK Muya. Your board, led by Chairman Lazarus Mwema, CEO Nancy Njao, my brother Wycliffe Shamia, my brother Kiprono Kitonyi, Frank Miti, Ugas Mohammed, and many, many others gathered here today who have played such a significant role in building this institution. Once again, good morning. Those who know me well know that I'm not one for reading speeches. And on a day like this, it seems that many speeches would fail to capture the significance of this occasion. With my central bank hat on, maybe many would expect me to speak about governance, stable financial institutions, balance sheets, growth, maybe even exchange rates. But that would also fail to capture the story of a day like today. So let me talk about the journey, because today is all about journeys, and there are so many journeys that have been spoken about in this room. Around about 2006, I think it was Governor Njuguna Ndung'u who was there at the time, the law changed to allow full ownership of banks to sit in foreign hands. I think some of you will remember that occasion. There was a restriction that said 33% needs to be locals. And there was a sense of nervousness in the market. But in 2006, the leading banks in this country were foreign owned. A lot of them, with the exception perhaps of KCB that was knocking on the door, and later on Equity. We used to talk about Barclays, we used to talk about Standard Chartered, we used to talk about Citibank. Am I correct? And with all the nervousness in the market at the time, the law changed and said, let them be fully foreign owned. And it was curious because around this time, there was a quiet build-up in the market. TK had started Family Finance Building Society. There were other locally owned building societies that were growing. And I share this story because in 2007, the strategy meetings of those foreign-owned banks probably had a management team that was meeting all their targets. They were earning their bonuses and they were being told, well done, the Kenya market is growing. But we all know the real MSMEs, the people at the bottom of that pyramid, were being served by the then Family Finance Building Societies. 2 years ago, I attended Family Bank at 40. And at the time, TK told his story. He didn't tell it all today, perhaps for lack of time, because it's quite an interesting story. But the significant part of this story that I recall was he began lending money to people for the simplest of things. School fees. School fees. Every house needs school fees. Could you go to Barclays and get a school fees loan? No. But there was somebody providing it. And this story is told because the story of Family Bank is about serving felt needs in society. And that's what builds an institution like this today. So congratulations. I attended Family Bank at 40, and today at 42, I am here to celebrate the listing of the bank, that billion shillings plus. And assets in excess of 200 billion. I'll let that sink in because if you look back at the institutions in this country that have grown exponentially, very few of them are comparable to the conversation we are having about Family Bank today. And this has been a 42-year-long journey. Now, I reflected also on the legacy. The name Family Bank was not chosen by accident. From my conversations with TK, you will all realize, and I was going to bring it up when I came up here, that when he stood here, he didn't start by telling you about balance sheets. Who did he ask to stand up? Family. Family. And the slogan I saw on the screen was, "With you for life." That message is not a message for his children. It's a message for everyone here. He's built an institution, and the true value of this institution will be it outliving its founder. And hence the call and the challenge. I saw grandchildren here, many of whom I know, that the custody of this legacy is being passed on to your generation. Nancy stood up here and expressed with a lot of confidence the balance in this institution of 50-50, women to men. And their granddaughters in the room. Their daughters in the room. The message to all of you is that the kind of institution that has been built today and listed is an institution that is sensitive to the future of both our young women and our young men. It's an institution that is building value intended to last for multiple generations to come. So congratulations, Family Bank, for that. It would be remiss of me as a central bank chairman not to talk about numbers. When we stood in that corner and the first trades happened, a lot of you were thinking about it purely in terms of, we've traded 1,000. What did we trade? 900,000 in about 5 minutes, correct? But in my central banker mind, I actually sat back and wondered how many of you realized that in a matter of 32 seconds, we had watched 40 billion shillings in wealth being created. Congratulations. And that's the kind of message that I think needs to go out to this country. When you pick up some of our newspapers and you read about billions, it is constantly in a negative sense. We have lost 2 billion here, we have lost 5 there, we have lost 20 there. Ladies and gentlemen, today you witnessed 40 billion being created without a single act of corruption. This is Kenya. This is Kenya. So sometimes, and I hope the media here, celebrate the good things that happen in this country called Kenya, because we don't have another Kenya. This is ours. This is the one, we have one lifetime to celebrate it in. We have no other place to take it. It is Kenya. There are times you pick up our media, especially our social media, and you wonder if people have another country that they would like to run to. One time, our currency went up to 165, and there was all this hype and hullabaloo in the media, until we raised an international bond of 1.5 billion euros that was oversubscribed. And we came right back down to where we deserved to be at 129 to the dollar. We haven't moved since, and I'm not saying it's a walk in the park. I'm not saying it's an easy job with the monetary policy committees, but there are people who wake up morning, noon, and night knowing that there is no other Kenya that we can go to and work to build this country. The other day I woke up and somebody wrote an article saying the currency is too stable. And I said, you simply can't win. But take advantage of this stable currency. Take advantage of this listing of the likes of Family Bank to build your wealth. Because this bank, as TK said, he's the founder. But he will leave it here, and he has left it here to all of us. He has shared his founding vision with all of us. If you miss this bus, do not turn around in 10 years when it is worth 1 trillion and say, I wish I was part of this journey. It's here for all of us. TK and your team, dreams are built like this. I know you dreamt and you persevered and you walked this journey. Nobody was celebrating you in headlines when you were walking this journey. And I will share this. In 2007, when the Nakuru branch was opened and family had just converted from a building society to a bank, that is when I first met TK Muya. In a little office in a building called Seguton Building in Nakuru town. And I was sitting in my little founder's hat in Mukite Musangi and Company Advocates, and I was told at my reception that there was a gentleman called Titus Muya would like to see you. I walked out. Of course, I had heard of him. I ushered him into my office, and he pulled out account opening forms. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can confirm, apart from being the CEO, the executive chairman, the HR director, he was also the marketing manager and the Nakuru branch manager. But for your grandchildren, TK, this tells a story. We used to call it tarmacking in our days. But today, the conversation is about the boots need to hit the ground, the hard yards need to be done before you get to a day when you can stand with Frank Mwiti and his team, with Ugas Mohammed and his team, and list a fully fledged 200 billion shilling bank. A lot of work has gone into this, and I sincerely congratulate you, and we pledge our support as the Central Bank of Kenya. Because regulators, TK, sometimes we may look like we have a tug of war and we pull and push, but we are pulling in the same direction. That direction is intended to achieve the growth of this country and nothing else. When you grow, we grow. And I have said, under my short tenure in that bank, we will serve our stakeholders. We are not policemen, we will serve them. I want to achieve a dream of seeing no single institution close under my watch. Not one, because that's my failing. And at Central Bank, we considered it our group failure if a single bank closes. There's been a lot of conversation about core capital. It doesn't apply to you. You're way past the target mark. So for you, my next challenge is look around the market. There might be a few people happy to sell, and you can acquire them and help them grow as well. So the conversations about taking Kenya back to the age of small banks, I think we are past that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, Our ambitions are as big as yours. We are only looking forward and to growth, growth and more growth. I wish you all the best. Today is not the culmination of a journey, in my view, as was stated, but it is the beginning of a big chapter for Family Bank. Congratulations.